Howdy, guys. Welcome back to the RedAss podcast. Today is Tuesday, June 15th. June 25th. And we have a ton to get into. But before we do all of that, my name is Rob White, fighting Texas Aggie class of 2014.
I'm Roy May, fighting Texas Aggie class of 2015, and I'd like to put a little disclaimer that I'm going to do my best to watch my language, but no guarantees.
Yeah. We have a ton to get into. Basically, since the last podcast, we wrapped up right before Florida and Kentucky get through those games, make the championship series. We were going to touch on that. Obviously, wanted to get more full into the game, but there's a lot more to get into. So, go ahead, Roy. What you got?
Well, we'll start with the game, or we'll start with the series. I'm not going to go game by game, obviously.
Sure.
But man, you got a series at the end of it. The run differential was 15-15. I mean, there was literally zero run differential. It was a classic series. It was just really good. A couple of bad pitches on Sunday, and then I thought on Monday night last night they battled really well. It just Tennessee. We said it. Tennessee's a damn good team.
The best.
Yeah.
I mean, no arguments here. I mean, Tennessee earned that thing on the field. We can sit back and complain about umpiring. We can sit back and complain about decisions made with pitching. I mean, there's a lot of question marks that people could throw around. But at the end of the day, for me, I mean, Tennessee earned this thing, and they absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. Look, the umpiring was abysmal on Monday night. It was, but still, you still had it in front of you.
Yep.
The umpire's not to be blamed for the series by any means.
No.
I mean, you didn't see that on Sunday, and you weren't able to pull the game out. So it's again, I'm gutted that we didn't get to see this team at full strength play in that series. I think that's just the most disappointing part. But what this team was able to show us, being down, you're probably questionably your best player.
Mm-hmm.
Your number 2 starter who had really done a great job all year.
Well, the dude's the king at eating up innings. That's one thing that Shane Sadeo has always done really well. And so it sucks that he was hurt. And that was definitely a big part that was missing. I mean, one thing we can say for Caden Kent, he did a phenomenal job filling in production-wise for what Braden Montgomery was doing. He did a great job in that role. But you can't replace the extra arm strength that we had with Shane Sadeo eating up innings, which very well likely would have been the guy that we threw on Sunday and likely the guy that would have gotten us where we needed to go. But here we are now on the backside of all that. And it's an unfortunate situation. I feel so bad for the players because it was such a good effort. And obviously the fans who traveled and showed out. I mean, first 12th man, all credit to you. There were so many people that said, oh, that stadium is going to be 75-80% Tennessee. It was a healthy blend of maroon and orange in that building, and I could not be happier with our showing as a fan base, and honestly, just effort from the team as a whole. Everybody was fighting for every pitch, and sometimes that makes you push, sometimes that makes you do things that you don't think you should do, but at the end of the day,
to watch them step up despite the injuries, tack on Jace getting hobbled. It was just, I mean, all of it was such a fun run, and definitely, they'll go down as probably the best team in history at A&M.
So far, no question.
And they were, so far, and it was fun, man. It was a enjoy the ride kind of thing. I hate for them that it ended up the way it did. But Tennessee was in this situation the last couple of years too. So maybe you see something out of this roster. But again, we'll get into how it's going to be different from Tennessee here very shortly.
Yeah, very true. So it all shook out the way it was. It did shake.
I mean, it's the way the odds had picked it too. I mean, Tennessee was just, they had good pitchers and they just absolutely mashed the ball. You got 5 dudes on one team that had 20 or more homers. That's bonkers.
Yeah. I mean, phenomenal team, and honestly, just above everything else. I mean, very well timed hits, did what they needed to do when they needed to do it, and got the shutdown pitching when they needed it.
Yeah, so. Still shocked that Vitello didn't get run in that game where he got the early warning.
Right.
I was really shocked because they were I mean, they jumped on a warning early.
They
That
did.
was quick. And for them not to go back to that, especially the way he continued to act, that was a little puzzling to me
Mm-hmm.
because he just continued to act the same way. And again, all the props to Tennessee in the world, but
Mm-hmm.
still, you know, they're a reflection of their head coach.
Yeah.
And I'll just kind of leave it at that because I think I've beaten that drum enough. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so, but I'm not going to say there's always next year because right now where we're sitting, we have no idea what next year's gonna hold because Coach Sloss is a lying piece of shit. That apparently started these discussions as early as the Georgia series weekend. And he's been doing this the whole time, which also leads you to believe that there's no way that he hasn't been working on his staff as well. So you're looking at a team that could legitimately be gutted depending on what players decide to leave and what players decide that they can look at it for what it is, and it's just a lack of integrity. Um, so yeah, so we'll get into this. Got the announcement, and I think there was a week ago. I don't think anybody was worried about it. I think as we got a little bit further down the line and more smoke, there's concern about it because then it goes radio silent,
Yeah.
and so it's Texas baseball history. They want to get back to where they were, right? And hiring a guy like Schloss is what'll do it. But I'm fascinated by the fact that like you want to talk about just what really showed his ass was the way he answered that question. And then when you find out that once he left the podium, he got in Richard Zane's face and told him he was never going to speak to him again. Um, that's one of the most immature and garbage displays I've seen, especially he could have said any other, there's a bevy of things that he could have said. Could have said, like, I can't believe you asked me that question. Look, you want to ask me that question, ask me tomorrow. I'm not, he could have just deflected it straight up, but he chose to even double down on his bullshit. And it's a glaring lack of integrity. Because literally all he had to do was deflect the question. That's all he had to do. He didn't have to answer it. He'd be
No.
like, I'm not even answering that right now. Like that's literally he could have just said that. I mean, granted, speculation would have run wild, but does that matter at this point now? So as many people wanted to jump on Richard for asking that question at that time, turns out it was the right question to ask. And maybe a whole lot of people owe Richard an apology on top of that.
I went ahead and made a post about that on Twitter. I said people need to start giving Richard quite the apology because, yeah, I mean, it's a tough question to ask in that moment. It
But it
absolutely is a
clearly
tough
had to be
question,
asked.
but it needs to be asked because this is a clear indication why you don't ask this question. There's no speculation the next day when no official announcement is made, but all of a sudden you have Chris Brown and all these other reporters starting to fire out news that all of a sudden Jim Schlossnagle is heading to Austin, and so we're seeing this take place. And I just roll back to I'm really proud of Richard for going out there and asking that question at this point. It needed to be asked, and I'm glad he did do it.
100%. And the thing, like, and I was curious because obviously, there was a ton of backlash and he just got absolutely pounded on. But I was surprised that I mean, I guess it makes sense, because I'm not a journalist, right? I don't go into these post game interviews and ask the questions, right?
Right.
But Billy straight up green lit him asking that question. So one, the professionalism of Richard to ask Billy before he fires off a question like that, obviously something that's could quite possibly be incredibly incendiary.
Sure.
But two, the fact that Billy was like, dude, let it rip, man.
You got to.
And
You have to.
yeah,
You have to.
and I don't ever want to sound like a Texags apologist because like every journalist does their job, and that's what I mean. I love the guys at Texags, but I'll call them on it on something if I think they're doing something crappy. But this wasn't one of those situations.
No.
It had to be asked. I'm glad it was asked, and now looking back, like this is super easy. Being able to play Monday armchair quarterback. It absolutely had to be asked, and Schloss showed his ass and showed exactly who he is.
Yes.
And it's frustrating and disgusting. I hope he fails miserably at SIP, but realistically, with his track record, he's not going to.
No.
But but now all of a sudden you have to shift gears, right? Oh
Mhm.
crap, we got to get into a coaching search. And so I didn't want to just sit here and bang on Coach Slosh all night because, as far as I'm concerned, he's a sip now and he can kiss the maroon part of my ass. Um,
Yeah, I mean, if there's any one thing I will say in regards to the Jim Schlossnagle thing right now, I mean, a man is only as good as his word, and his word means absolutely nothing, as we've come to learn. And
Absolutely
so,
nothing.
so that, every single thing that he says at Texas, it doesn't matter what it is, whether he leaves, goes, whatever. At this stage, on that other side of the whole issue, at this point, you can't believe a word of that man out of that man's mouth because
No,
he has no integrity left. So,
doesn't
we
change how good he is as a baseball coach, but
here's the
you
deal.
can have it, man.
Good coach. I mean, if there is one thing that I will say, and I know there's going to be a lot of people ripping on Trev Alberts about all this, yada yada yada. Rip on him if you so desire, but I will be honest right now. I did not want us getting into any kind of Jimbo Fisher crazy contract extension situation. Basically being held at gunpoint at this stage. My thought process was, if he's gonna go, let him walk. I don't want somebody
Yeah.
who doesn't want to be here.
Well, and my thing with Trev Alberts is like, if this was all going on behind this, I mean, if they were really that capable of keeping it quiet, and apparently they were, if this was all going on behind the scenes, he may not even had a shot at keeping him anyways. I mean,
Right.
obviously, we're talking about stadium renovation, so you kind of assume the guy's going to stick around and see it through. I mean, I don't think that every week on Monday morning you pick up your phone and call all of your coaches one by one and be like, "Hey, you're not leaving next year, are you?" Like, yeah, so there was a lot of deception on Schloss's part by doing this as early as it sounds like he was doing it.
Well, and then on top of that, I'm not sure if you caught up with what was said otherwise with the players, but it's pretty apparent that the players were not aware of the situation at all because Chris Cortez came out and made his statement. He said,
I haven't seen any of it. Yeah, yeah,
right.
fire away.
So Chris Cortez, this was a little less than an hour ago, said this should not take away from what this 2024 Texas A&M baseball team has done. The players make the team, not the coaches. Less than 24 hours ago, we were one of the last two teams standing, play from our national championship. Nothing can take that away from us, and that's what.
Yeah, what I'd really like to see is some positive stuff from guys that still have eligibility left.
Yeah, I agree. I
Um,
agree.
this is going to be tough. Look, he's going to take his staff with him, and he's probably going to take some players with him. And
Probably.
like it could be a really really ugly 30 days.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I mean, the announcement's been made. Whatever moves are going to happen are going to happen. But if there's anything that does come out of this situation, he's coming out looking like an absolute ass the way he went about this, and
Well, and
that's
you and
fine.
you hope that and you hope that the players can see that.
Yeah, you hope, but at the same time, the integrity of an athletic department is not the end goal of most of these players. Most of these players, their end goal is making the major leagues. And if getting to the major leagues means playing under a coach that's going to get you the type of exposure you need, and being under a guy like Max Weiner, Nolan Cain, etc., all those guys underneath Schlossnagle, that's what they're going to want. They're going to want the chance to go for that championship again. And if they think that it's going to be better in Austin now that their coach is over there, they're going to follow him. And that's on one hand completely understandable, but on the other hand, it's just a frustrating situation for everybody you leave behind.
It is, yeah. And so that's kind of where I wanted to point the direction of this,
Sure.
just so we're not sitting here just actually beating this topic to death, and
Yeah, you're good.
my blood pressure just starts ripping up through the roof. So if you're Trev Alberts, like, what's your move? And so my dad and I were talking about this a little bit because I told him I think Max Wiener's gone. I think he leaves with him. Um, he's like, well, I mean, would you appoint Wiener head coach? He's got 1 year in college, man, so you
No.
can't do that. But can you work and try and keep the staff together? Do you promote Nolan? Do you promote Kane to head coach? Do you promote early? Do you promote Wiener? Do you promote them all and give them all pay raises and be like, this worked?
Yeah.
So why not, keep the band together kind of thing?
Well, and I mean, if I'm Albert, if I'm Alberts, I mean, I would like to make that move. I think if you had to ask me who I want for the head coaching position out of this staff, yeah, it would definitely be Nolan Kane of any of them, no question. But yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, I'm not sure how many of those guys are sticking around.
Well, and the other thing is, do you make that move in an effort to placate the players? And that's just, and you can't be held hostage by players hitting the portal.
No.
And so now you got to spin up a search and you got to spin it up quick.
Yep.
And if you want to keep this roster intact, you better land a name.
Yep.
And so I don't know where you go, man.
No, like I said, the names I honestly couldn't tell you right now. I mean, the names that immediately came to mind, I mean, I look at Jay Johnson over at LSU, but I don't know if you snag him at all. And frankly, I mean, if you had to go with a guy, and it's not a big name, and that's the problem. People want that big name higher. But I
Yeah.
mean, if you had to give me a guy that truly understands A&M and gets what we're trying to do here and has been here and knows what's going on, and frankly, he's not dipping out because he's shown how much he appreciates this program. It's Matt Deggs at Louisiana. Okay, so Deggs was over, he was underneath Childress here, did a phenomenal job while he was here. Goes to Sam, builds it up into a pretty decent program, then it ends up at Louisiana and also builds it into a really solid program. The dude builds, and
Yeah,
so
Deggs.
that's a name I don't hate in the search, but I understand the need for a school with the profile of A&M, and not just the profile of A&M, but consider what we promised Schlossnagle. We're guaranteeing him an $80 million stadium. All of these other upgrades as far as facilities.
Yeah, that
We
didn't walk out the door with Schloss.
No, that's not going away. These things are on the table and they are going to happen. But that has to be your pitch at this point. It's like, see what you are acquiring by coming to A&M. You're getting all these facilities, you're getting the incredible fan base and the incredible support. And my thought process above all else is, if you truly didn't think you could do this here, and you're going to go to Austin, where the profile is not all that different. Yes, you do have the history.
Yeah, but you got to be talking about in the here and now. Like the last
Yes.
5 years or so is really about the only window that matters, quite frankly.
It's true. And Texas has not been outstanding. They have made
Dude,
Omaha
I don't.
several times.
I still don't even know why they're getting rid of Pierce, quite frankly.
No, I never. Well, I can tell you exactly why.
Why?
Because this conversation was happening probably round about Georgia, and it was always in the back of their mind, like, "Hey, we're going to drop Pierce." It's just the timing of him being fired on the championship game. God, screw those guys.
Yeah, no, they're
Good
they're com-
Lord.
they're complete assholes. And if anybody listens to this podcast that's never been in a conference with them, I'm telling you, you will understand why us older people do not like them. And
No,
that's just another example of what they do. I
just
wanted to bring to light a tweet from Kendall Rogers.
go ahead.
And I thought this was really interesting because Bronny retweeted it as well. Kendall Rogers said, I spoke to sources throughout the last week with knowledge that Schloss would consider going to Texas. I was told if that happened, Aggie baseball would pay whatever was needed to land an elite coach. A&M, given new ballpark coming and resources, will be attractive. So buckle up.
I saw that.
So that's, for all the people that are sitting here getting mad at Alberts,
He's going to
maybe
go get a guy, I
maybe
think.
tap, yeah, maybe, and that's why I think Deggs won't be in the conversation.
Probably not.
I think what would be interesting is if Schloss takes the staff with him. Does he do something like? I mean, do they just pull out all the stops, hire a head coach that wants to pull Deggs over as an assistant coach, like a head coach in waiting kind of thing?
Yeah.
Because Louisiana A&M, that's a move that's possible. Head coach at Louisiana be an assistant coach, assistant head coach at Texas A&M.
Yeah.
That's not even a lateral move. That's still a bit of a tick up. Granted, he's got Louisiana going right now, so I don't know if he'd want to take that what is maybe perceived as almost a lateral move. But it'll be real interesting. And the more I've kind of thought about this since the announcement came out, I think it just really truly goes to show you that now that we have the era of the NIL, you don't have to stay at programs forever to develop them, right?
Nope.
You can build it through the transfer portal on top of your high school kids. But it just goes to show you that I don't ever want to hear another coach complain about anything about NIL, because the absolute biggest effing mercenaries are the coaches.
Mm-hmm.
100%. And Schloss just showed that, in buckets, that they have absolutely no loyalty where they're at. They don't care about the school. All they care about is some whatever. I can't tell what the perception is for him, because I guess he thinks that he's going to be able to win it all quickly in Texas, or
Well,
at Texas, when he had us literally on the trajectory to win it anyways.
well, and somebody made a really well, Matt Trujillo, who's a really good friend of mine, he listens
Mhm.
to the podcast. He's a good cat. Made a really, really interesting thought, put an interesting thought in my head, which was perhaps maybe part of the issue here was that Jim Schlossnagle didn't exactly have full control all the time. You know, if you consider like a lot of the things around A&M baseball, if you've been around here long enough, there are certain things that have been established around the ballpark, around the culture. And he came in here and immediately, let's just go down the list of the things that Jim Schlossnagle changed the moment he arrived here. He fires Rick Hill from being he was the PA announcer initially, right? But and as well as the board, but they don't let him run the board anymore. They hire somebody else to do it. He's constantly tried to get rid of the riflemen at the ball games every single season, incorporates the dancers, which did not go over well with a lot of old ags. It's just there's a lot of little things that he tried to plug constantly and got a lot of pushback for. And I wonder how much of that played into at least partial decision making for him. I really don't know.
I don't really that kind of stuff. I don't think really plays into it, quite frankly. If it was lack of control of what was actually going on the diamond and in the clubhouse, I think
Sure.
you could see that. But if that's an issue, then I don't know why you're going to Texas, because you do not have control when you're at Texas.
No.
Texas has made that abundantly clear year after year after year, and that's
Well,
one of
and
the reasons why they're in the situation they're in.
yeah, and like I said, you're going to hire the guy. Could he be the guy for you over there? Yes, but at the same time, I think if you look at it from a player standpoint, if you look at it from a recruiter standpoint, it's like, oh, this guy sure likes to, the moment things are not quite the direction he wants to go, he's going to try to make a move to go do what he wants to do and potentially leave you out in the cold as a player. I mean, I just don't know. I really don't know.
Relative to available seats and demand, so that ratio, the Texas baseball ticket may be harder to get than the Texas football ticket next year.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's going to be 8,000 people that want to get in that stadium and yell directly in his face.
No question. For 3 days, three
Well,
days you get this
get
because
the whole weekend.
But they said that the A&M game, the A&M Texas game will be at Olson Field. That is going to be hell on earth for 3 straight days for him from the fans.
And I'm thrilled about it.
Yeah.
I'm so thrilled about it. Like it lines up perfectly for us. So hopefully we don't provide an allotment, but about that big for sips and just pack it in. Um, and look, boo all you want to, Aggies.
Bingo.
This thing doesn't cut it. Just try and keep the F bombs to a bare minimum. But hey, let's get some people to go directly to the dugout and heckle. Not the way those two yahoos did in Omaha, but let's just get two people perched on the dugout, just absolutely heckling him all game long.
I'm okay with it. I'll be way fine with it. In fact, you know what? You want to give me weekend tickets, assuming I'm off, I will happily sit right behind the dugout
Spending
and
2 weeks doing research.
send me all the information. I will sit here and just cook him like a freaking duck. Give me a chance.
I saw somebody say, if you haven't done it already, somebody needs to go get a big sign that says good and put it in his yard.
Oh, I know. It needs to happen now.
So
It needs to happen
so
now.
this wasn't gonna be a long one because we didn't want to rehash the World Series. It just sucks. It's been all of a sudden a really tough, crappy 24 hours. Yeah, it's definitely getting kicked while you're down. So, but
Yeah.
I thoroughly hope that he enjoys the shithole that is Austin. I hope he's absolutely miserable,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm never going to wish anything good on Texas. I think I've been pretty clear about that from the get go
Mm-hmm.
when I was about 5. So,
Oh, yeah.
um, but yeah, so I'll be really interested in, like, you know how some dudes are like total recruiting wackos, and so they're plugged into Texags 14 hours a day, even though they have full-time jobs when it's a recruiting cycle.
Mm-hmm.
I will be plugged into Texags for this coaching search.
Yep.
I am really curious what direction we're going to go in and how quickly it's got to be quick too. That's the catch.
Yes, it does.
You got to keep these players because our portal has opened.
Yep. It's
Our
it it
portal is open because that piece of shit.
Well, and what makes it worse is like now we've come into the situation where, yeah, like you waited till the very, very, very end of the season. You know, we got all the way to the very last opportunity to win a game in this season just to turn around and the very next day announce this. And
Yeah,
now
you
all of a sudden everything is going to hell. It's
yeah, you
insane.
literally got to play the last game of the college baseball season. And then when you were done with that, you acted like a petulant little child in a presser, and then followed that up with a direct attack, like face to face, again, like a total child. So I thought he was, baseball class. I really did. Um, but if that's the child he is, he's gonna love it in Austin.
Yes.
Absolutely gonna love it.
Perfect fit in my mind. Right,
The
that.
only other perfect fit is Vitello, and I'll be straight up honest. This tiny, tiny shred in me wants Vitello to come here so we can beat Schloss in the World Series.
I could be okay with that. Like I said,
We
I
can.
don't much. I said I don't much care for the way like a lot of his players have acted and all that
Speaking
other
of
stuff.
children, yes, Vitello's the worst, man.
He
But
he he is a
pro-
child, but
proven to build a program, right?
no doubt. I mean, it took him a little bit, but he got there. And I mean, once again, hats off to Tennessee for doing what they did.
I wonder if we
Absolutely.
can. Wonder if we can get to like a Premier League kind of situation. Can we just get him on loan until he beats Schloss, and then we'll give him back to Tennessee?
Right, one weekend. Hey, come over here and give our boys a couple pointers on whipping this dude's ass real quick.
Yeah, we're just gonna need you. Like, if your team's out of it, we're gonna use you for Omaha, and really
Mhm.
just for the press conferences and another picture with the trophy.
Oh yeah, just the fun stuff. So if any of y'all want to kind of see my thoughts on everything, feel free to go over to the Aggie uniform account. I just made a post. Enjoy it.
How'd you put that little
Yes.
meme you made?
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
I made a little hat.
you made a
So
haha.
I made a little haha hat. So go check it out when you get a chance. But yeah, we're gonna get this uploaded pretty quick, and love to hear y'all's thoughts in the comments and everything on the whole deal. We will be
Yeah.
keeping up with the coaching search as we kind of continue to run out, I guess, the end of this season now, since we have plenty to talk about on that front.
Well, yeah, and hopefully by this time next week we'll have some more information about the coaching search, and we can kind of start. Hopefully, we'll at least have a pool of people that we know kind of we're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Oh,
and we'll
Robert Barron's just retweeted it, so go check out his Twitter too.
Oh boy,
Oh boy, it's gonna blow up. Oh no.
yeah. I tell you what, he took it on the chin on Twitter over the weekend, and I was like, you guys just don't understand. Like, I'm telling you, I dislike Texas as often as I breathe. Okay, that's how it goes.
And
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 I
and
think you saw the perfect example of this of when the press release came out when they fired Pierce. The fact they've been talking to him since Georgia, which I guess isn't tampering.
makes you wonder.
I don't know if you
So
can
it
tamper
makes you
with
wonder about
coaches.
some decisions in that championship series, though, doesn't it?
If oh dude, if he did any like if he made any decisions based on the fact he was going to Texas, I truly do hope he rots in hell.
Look, let me just I'm completely hypothetical, not even going
Going
into it,
straight tinfoil.
but let's tinfoil hat for just a quick minute. Top of the seventh inning, you have the opportunity to put in Evan Oschenbeck and shut this game down. You don't do it. You let our guy run until, unfortunately, he gives up enough runs, and then you make a change. In game two, when you potentially could have shut it down and won the championship right then and there, but that's just a theory. I don't know for sure, buddy.
It's certainly one theory.
It's a theory. I'm not going to sit here and tinfoil hat this, but all of a sudden, a lot of questions start getting asked, as they should be asked.
Yeah. Well, I'll give my World Series MVP on the A&M side. Obviously, I'm going to give it to Caden Kent. I think the numbers were undeniable.
But between him, I would say between him and honestly, Ryan Prager, my God, dude. what a turnaround in the College World Series from your last time you were there. Couldn't be
Yeah.
more proud.
My honorable mention would be Appel, just because I
Yeah.
just think he's the glue that holds this club together.
Yes. Oh,
I just felt awful when he missed that tag.
yeah, that one
And you know nobody's beating him up more than he is.
no, and I wouldn't get after him for the tag.
Gosh,
Hayden
no.
and Hayden shot too. I mean, good for
Machine
machine and
on one leg.
yes, on one leg and
Honestly, yeah, you can go through the roster and just probably pick a handful of kids. Just
yep,
Grahovic leading off the game with a homer. Like
yep.
it was so much fun.
It
Just such a disappointing ending, but only one team can win.
only one team can win. So here we are on the backside of probably one of the worst 24-hour stretches in A&M athletics history in terms of how everything kind of fell apart. But
Yeah,
at the same time, we are the Aggies. The Aggies are we, and I wouldn't trade being an Aggie to be anybody else anywhere.
I'm gonna wake up in the morning. I'll still be an Aggie. The sun will come up. I mean, well, Lord willing. But that has nothing to do with Aggie baseball.
No,
But yeah. So would love to hear y'all. If y'all have anything y'all want us to address, I mean, we could probably string together maybe another one later this week that's short like this.
sure.
See if we can't get our schedule to line up. Um, but yeah, just a whole bunch of poopy, 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 poopy.
Very poopy, and here we are. But you know what? At the end of the day, we are those Aggies, and we've dealt with this before. We're just gonna keep rocking and rolling, man, because that's what we do.
Yeah, I mean, next
Yep.
up on that, we're in the official dead period for sports, quite frankly. Nothing really kicks up for us until we at least get in the gosh, Aggie soccer will be the first thing on deck, right?
Yeah, they'll be the first big thing. And throughout the rest of this summer, I know our schedules as far as work and everything. Um, I'm picking up quite a bit for band stuff on the weekends, which is awesome. I love the fact that we're working as much as we are.
Well,
Um,
there'll be a forced break just because I'll be on vacation out of country.
right. And yeah, Roy's gonna be off and away, which is exciting. I'm looking forward to hearing about that trip. That's gonna be a blast.
Yeah, over the summer we'll probably do them every couple of weeks. In the
Yeah.
summers when it's literally all topics are fair game. So if you
Yeah.
guys have something you'd love us to talk about, for on the show, absolutely just drop it below or shoot us a DM,
Yeah.
and let us know about something you'd love us to talk about. Between now and next week, hopefully we'll have a little bit better grasp on the coaching search, and Rob and I will do some digging statistically and
Yeah.
hopefully have all that stuff for you so we can really compare who we're going after, assuming we don't have a coach by this time next week.
Yeah. Anything's
Like
possible within the next few days. You don't know.
like they always say, every good AD has a list of names in his desk drawer,
Mm-hmm.
for every
Exactly.
sport. So
So
I'm gonna freak if it's Vitello because
there's just I don't anticipate that being the
I
case.
don't. Yeah, but
No.
no, I'm just saying, like, I would completely freak out, not in a good way. Just be like, God,
Why? Yes, he won a championship, but why?
yeah, how bad do we want to win, man?
Well, apparently pretty
Well,
bad.
yes. See, that's the thing. But there's not that many big name coaches out there. So if Kendall Rogers is to be believed, which I mean, he said there was no way Schloss was going to Texas, but again, Kendall is generally pretty accurate. So they kept this one under wraps pretty well because it seemed like everybody was kind of in the dark on it. But hopefully we get some names floating around and we land a big fish. Maybe by this time next week, we're talking about it.
Yep, hopefully so. Well, hope everybody has a better rest of your week. Find the good positives to get into, family wise or otherwise. Or if you happen to be an Astros fan and you're appreciating this little turnaround we've been seeing, that's nice. But
rest, rehydrate. July 4th is right around the corner. So it's time to put your body through a little recuperation after the weekend of baseball.
And if you happen to be in the Houston area or the Austin area, we will be down in Texas City Friday night playing down there, and we will be playing over at Copeland Dance Hall right outside of Taylor coming up this weekend, and those should both be a lot of fun. Oh, by the way, had a blast this past weekend. Have so many stories. Holy cow! It was one of the craziest show weekends we've had in a long time, but. Amarillo was awesome. Kane's Ballroom back-to-back sold-out nights. Corey Kent was recording a live record. It was insane, but it was an absolute blast. And I found a lot of joy in that, which counteracts a lot of what we're having to deal with today, which is, I guess, that's balance.
We were talking about this actually this morning on our little we are team huddles, and you know, it's just that's something I started, 5-10 years back. I really try to start work on. It's just not letting a sports team at any level kind of dictate my attitude and mood. And it sucked, but like I had a great weekend with friends. The early game on Sunday gave us the evening, to hang out and do whatever, um, and it just it's a baseball game, man.
It is a baseball.
There's a lot more important things in life than worried about if a bunch of 18 to 20-year-olds are going to win a title. And I get that it's important. And look, I want to win a national championship at A&M, but I didn't let it ruin my day. So I had a really great weekend and looking forward to kind of a almost back-to-back holidays for me, because coming out of July 4th, and I'm only about 10 days from there from heading to Scotland. So it's got a real busy next couple of weeks with work, trying to get everything knocked out before I go, because I would really like to not take my laptop to Scotland.
Yeah, that's fair.
All possible, but yeah, I'm looking at, you know what, just embrace the chaos, man. Looking forward to the coaching search. We shall see.
Embrace the chaos, but above all, embrace the hate next year when we see him again.
Yes.
Embrace the hate,
or you'll learn. Let the hate flow through you. I'm telling you.
It's okay. We're allowed to be a little Sithy. We're not all Jedis here.
Yes.
Let the hate flow, baby. All right. Well, I am Rob White. This is Roy May. We are the RedAss Podcast. Thank you so much for listening, guys, and we really do appreciate you. Beat the ever living hell out of Schlossnagel and the off season. Take care. Gig 'em.